You'll pay for talking back. Someone come here and help me! Now! Friend, might have to take that nose.
Just a few quick notes before we start. The video is split up into several chapters, so feel free to skip to whatever you're looking for. Chapters include lore background discussion, both detailed and too long didn't read build overviews, as well as companions and roleplay, with both spoiler and non-spoiler versions. Again, this is made with early access patch 9, so be aware. And the question of the day for those who are interested is, what will be the build of your first Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough and why? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. Otherwise, let us begin. The Battlerager. The Shield Dwarves have faced many perils throughout Faerun's history, yet they are a people forged of iron, sturdy as stone. Yet while most follow the Allfather, Moradin, creator of the dwarves, and his kin, becoming masters of crafts, smithing, and careful but cynical action. Yet there are those who seek a different path in service of clan and kin. Sigrun Axebreaker of the Axebreaker clan, knowing the terrible toll of wars with the goblins for her people and what the Ithalids did to the Shinnatar, she has harboured a desire to avenge what was done. She sought to become a Dwarf Battlerager, yet it was not in the name of the dwarf gods of war. She did not expect resurrection like her fellows upon death. No, that was a selfish thing, for the sacrifice would have no meaning. And if they were wrong, what good did they do the dwarves? No, Tempest, the Lord of Battles, God of War, called her to glorious battle, that she might be the embodiment of her people's revenge, a force of nature, of change, turning the tide. She would follow the way of the Berserker, unleashing the rage of a people wronged. She would seek out battle, honour her people, and the full hammer's call. She would slay cowards and craven alike, harnessing both rage and mastery of battle. For a blood rager, the blood will flow, and an honourable death will follow if they are worthy. Yet you must not throw away your life, but fight as long as you can, for the Battle Lord will be watching. The build. So the Battlerager is a Berserker Barbarian combined with a Battlemaster Fighter, making for what I feel will be the ultimate warrior build, and might as well be called the Action Economist class, as you will be able to do a lot in a turn. Basically, you're taking the heavy hitting power of a barbarian, their rage or frenzy in this case, and adding in the versatility of the moves or maneuvers offered by the Battlemaster, as well as the bonus actions available to the generic fighter. In the end, when your turn rolls around, the enemy better hope you're asleep or otherwise incapacitated, because otherwise heads are gonna roll. So why multi-class a Barbarian Berserker with a Fighter Battlemaster, in which both make for good fighty classes on their own? First, both have the expected ability synergies you would like from a solid multi-class. Barbarians are all about strength, a bit of dex, and also good constitution, and so are fighters. Basically, if it swings a weapon, you're going to want these to be able to hit hard, be hard to hit, and tough enough to take the hits in return. Secondly, Rage is a great ability, but it makes casting spells an issue. But a Battlemaster, unlike an Eldritch Knight, which to its credit can make for another interesting Barbarian multiclass, the Battlemaster can reap the benefits of Rage and mix in its notable combat abilities found in maneuvers, action surge, and fighting styles which will not interfere with Rage. Thirdly, superiority dice. These are one of the reasons many fans swear by Lae'zel Battlemaster. Not only can Battlemasters do tons of actions effectively, they can also use superiority die for riposte reactions, allowing you to hit back at attackers that miss on their turn. And imagine you're raging and thus do extra damage as well. Yes, Rage makes an already great class even better, and with the die you can do various other maneuvers depending on the situation, allowing for even more tactical options. Fourth, mindless Rage. You know what's annoying? When your bulldozer of a Battlemaster is frightened, hypnotized, or charmed, and therefore losing precious actions due to a failed saving throw. With a Berserker's mindless Rage at level 6, you couldn't care less about these attacks, and will kill them anyway. The fifth and final reason, action economy. A Berserker already has a decent action economy with their Frenzied Strikes at level 3, giving them effectively an extra attack. Add in a Battlemaster even for a few levels, and now you have Action Surge, granting a free action once per short rest. That's effectively free per long rest. And for a Frenzied Berserker, that would be free extra goblins that you could be using to test your throwing arm. Then add in a reaction that you will get from riposte using your superiority die, and all in all you're going to be slicing, cutting, crushing, and otherwise obliterating scores of enemies before most classes can even get their second turn. So what if I too long didn't read on how to exactly build this? Start as a level 1 Barbarian and then immediately take Fighter at level 2. This will get you your second wind heal as well as allow you to pick up your fighting style. Preferably great weapon or possibly 2-weapon fighting. But know that your 2-weapon fighting will interfere with your Frenzied Strike, so I suggest a great weapon. You then take Fighter to level 2, which will give you your Action Surge, and then you pop back over to Barbarian and take it to level 3 to get your Berserker subclass and therefore Frenzy. Then go back to Fighter and get it to level 3 and pick Battlemaster as your subclass, granting you superiority die, and then you pick your maneuvers. With that done, then proceed back to Barbarian and take it to max level. This ensures that you get tons of health, you'll get fast movement, your extra attacks, mindless rage, and eventually bonus attack damage to your rage as well as your crits for the end game. For ability score additions or feats, I like to boost strength to 18 or possibly improve constitution. As a barbarian you get an unarmored AC bonus from your constitution, and add that to your dex and you will get quite a substantial AC bonus in total. So overall, high strength, high constitution, and a decent dex. That said, if you want to go for feats at level 4 and 8, I would suggest Martial Adept, which will give you an extra superiority die, as well as allow you to pick 2 more Battlemaster maneuvers. Also, you can take Mastery in a Great Weapon or Dual Wielder, depending on which fighting style you picked. Again, I suggest Great Weapon over Dual Wielder. Simply put, you're a brutal warlord of the battlefield. You are undaunted, relentless, a force of nature, an army of one, whatever you want to call it. Basically, you arrive and things die. In-depth build discussion. So we start with Barbarian as our core class. It gives us our rage, and it will give us the highest possible HP bonus we can get. And we need not worry about armor with our unarmored defense. With that said, we need to then consider ability scores. So strength is a must. You are a barbarian and you want to hit hard, as well as allowing us to pass the many unique class dialogue options which all require a strength throw. Dexterity is also helpful, as whether you choose to wear armor or not, you won't be taking heavy armor as it would prevent raging. So getting a dex bonus from medium, light or unarmored is always good, and if you're going light or unarmored, the higher the better. However, for unarmored, keep it to a +1 or 2, as Constitution is even better, as you'll get an AC bonus like with dex. But also you will gain extra HP and saving throw bonuses. Also with the unarmored defense, you'll be giving yourself bonus AC from that Constitution bonus. So strength, some dex and high Constitution. I aim for 16 for strength and Constitution during creation, as well as a decent dex so that I can get the AC bonus that it offers, which does in fact stack with unarmored, making you equal to heavy armor without any of the drawbacks. Personally, I also increase charisma to 12 for the +1, as you will be doing a lot of intimidation checks, making for a decent party face. For background, I went with Soldier, but you can easily go with Outlander or Folk Hero, as they both suit the roleplay nicely. For proficiencies, pick what you like, but make sure you have Intimidation and Athletics, as they are handy in many checks that you will face. Race-wise, Dwarf is lore appropriate for a Battlerager, but the build can be applied nicely to Half-Orcs also, though obviously the build would go by a different name. I picked Shield Dwarf for the +2 strength, but as long as your strength and constitution are high, pick whatever you like, as the core roleplay can apply to any race with slight tweaks. For level 2, you'll be grabbing your first fighter level. It will give you second wind, so you can self-heal once per short rest, and you can also pick a fighting style. I suggest Great Weapon, which will prevent annoying min rolls occurring as much, but Dual Weapon is also good, as it applies the applicable ability modifier to your offhand, likely being your strength. That said, remember that the offhand attack ability, which is a bonus action, will interfere with some of the elements of the Berserker class. This also applies to jumping and pushing as well, so be aware of that. There is a trade-off for doing dual weapons, but in theory they can do more damage. With that, you then go to level 2 on Fighter, which will give you Action Surge, and let's just say there's a reason level 2 looks barren when you level up a fighter, and it's because of Action Surge. It cannot be overstated how good this ability is so early on. An extra action per short rest is so powerful for a barbarian. I will reiterate why this is so good later on, so keep that in mind. So by your overall level 3, you have Rage, Unarmored Defense, more HP than a Purifier would have. We have a Fighting Style, Second Wind Healing, and an Action Surge already. That is, we are already hitting the power ramp and it's just getting started. For overall level 4 and 5, we will jump back over to Barbarian and get our second level Danger Sense, which grants advantage on dex saving throws for dealing with terrain, but also, more importantly, spells directed towards you are more likely to be negated, such as Acid Splash or Grease, which are quite common in Act 1. At level 2, you will also get Reckless Attack, which grants advantage on an attack, but makes you get disadvantage in return if you're then attacked. But given you can hit harder than most enemies and have lots of health, as well as resistance to damage from your rage, this simply makes it easier for you to hit and kill your foe before they can even hit back. The next level will give us our subclass, so this is level 3 Barbarian, and I suggest Berserker, which is essential for this build. So you'll get Frenzy, which is effectively improved rage. It grants you 2 great bonus actions you can use. Those being Frenzied Attack, which basically is an extra attack, and Frenzied Throw, which allows a more damaging throw, which can even grab smaller enemies, making them prone, presuming they didn't get killed. So it's quite good for setting up with an ally, who naturally will get advantage against them since they are prone. This is where you are by the end of Act 1, roughly, assuming the final release has a similar experience allocation to Early Access. Yet, what of level 6 upwards? Well, level 6 we get another level in Fighter, which will grant the subclass it offers, that being Battlemaster. So Battlemaster is arguably one of the best early access classes anyway. There's a reason Lae'zel has always been both a great damage dealer and a crowd control expert, and it's because of this subclass. So level 3 Fighter Battlemaster, you get Superiority Die, 4 to be exact, and we will pick 3 battle maneuvers from a selection. I like to go with Disarming Attack, Riposte, and Rally, but Menacing Attack and Trip also have their uses. Remember, the attacks all get a bonus to damage on top of your normal attack damage when used, while Rally allows you to grant an ally a HP bonus until rest, which is nice if you want to prevent an ally from falling for a turn, as it is also a ranged ability. Riposte is the only must-have, I think, though, as it allows for a free reaction using Superiority Die against an enemy that attacks and then misses you. With your notable AC, this is quite likely to happen, and that reaction does extra damage just like other battle maneuvers, so it can be deadly. Personally, this is where I stop leveling the fighter. You have the best options already, as it's quite a front-loaded class, and the Barbarian Berserker from now on will grant you more HP per level, as well as some other nice additions. So level 7 to 12 overall, or level 4 to 9 Barbarian. What do you get? You get a feat or ability score improvement at level 4, so no different from a fighter. I like to go with the improvement to the ability score, allowing me to boost strength or constitution to 18. But if you want a more flexible character, take Martial Adept as a feat, which grants 2 more battle maneuvers plus 1 extra superiority die. Level 5 is the same as fighter, but you gain more HP and also get an extra movement bonus, so it is a straight up better level 5 than a fighter. From there, the highlights of the Berserker are at level 6 you get a Mindless Rage, which means you cannot be charmed, frightened or hypnotized while raging, and you also get an extra Rage Charge. Level 7 you get Feral Instinct, which grants advantage on initiative rolls and prevents you from being surprised. This means that you always have a good chance of striking first with your improved movement and your great throwing abilities. Again, the idea is that you can strike enemies and kill them before they can even respond. You then get another ability, score improvement or feat at level 8, and finally at max level your rage gains a +1 damage bonus, and your crits get 1 extra damage die to roll, which can be quite substantial. And remember, if you took strength to 18, then you'll have a decent chance to score crits against your enemies, as it assists in a higher attack roll. So in total, 3 levels in Fighter Battlemaster and 9 in Barbarian Berserker. It means you'll get the best of both classes, you hit hard, you can take the hits with a ton of HP, and you're very tactical with your use of maneuvers and action surge, as well as being able to throw enemies into hazards or off cliffs. As for equipment, it's pretty simple. You're going to be going with your basic garb or any clothing, as it will allow you to get your unarmored defense AC bonus. Aside from the basic garb, there is another barbarian style armor in Act 1, but ultimately your defenses are so good that your basic armor will do you for all of Act 1, a testament to how great the barbarian's defensive abilities are. Otherwise, your weapon of choice will be, as noted earlier, either a great weapon or 2 martial weapons for dual wielding. I suggest going two-handed, and in Act 1 you can end up using this hammer, on screen Faithbreaker, which is gained from the hobgoblin leader in the goblin camp. I roleplayed that it was a stolen, gnomish made or dwarven made hammer, as it's far too ornate to be created by goblins, and the enchantment is pretty cool and very fitting for a dwarf build, as they may dislike magic generally, but they're all for enchanted equipment, and it's only right that an honourable Dwarf Battlerager wield it in battle. That said, I hope for more axes in the final release, as Sigrun is of course of the Axe Breakers. Anyway, for other items, there are 2 helmets I liked, one that for the looks mainly, as it has a cool red feathered crest, and gives a slight movement bonus at the start of combat, while the other one, the Helmet of Grit, grants a bonus action when your HP drops below 50%, so it's quite thematic for a Battle Rager. For boots, I went with Line Breaker, as it grants Wrath when dashing, but the Boots of Speed are also good. They allow you to get free movement if you want to disengage quickly and then attack another prime target. For the amulet slot, I went with the Absolute's Talisman, which grants a self-heal. As I recall, you can get that from the Goblin Torturer in the Goblin Camp. That said, like with my previous video, I'll reiterate that equipment balance can be a bit weird in early access and will likely change upon release, especially with new items being added to some of the loot lists. As I understand, the game seems to mix guaranteed items with some randomized ones in its list. Otherwise, make sure you carry plenty of weapons to throw, as you're going to be throwing a lot of them, and a lot of them might get lost. So that's the detailed look at the build. It grants you a lot of tactical options, it's powerful, but it's still fun and very thematic for a Battle Rager from the lore. Feel free to make changes, but I do suggest keeping mostly to Berserker levels and only a few in Battlemasters to avoid wasted levels. As I said, the Berserker has 2 levels, being level 4 and 5, which are straight up better and they get more than the Battlemaster. With that said though, I do want to still draw attention to the fact that in my testing, the Battlemaster's abilities with an extra attack at level 5 allow for 4 attacks in a turn. And what that means is with the final release, you will be able to use Action Surge 1 turn to gain 2 additional actions effectively. And remember, the extra attack can be used for any of your maneuvers as well, aside from the rally. And then with your Barbarian with Frenzy, on your next turn or any other turn after that usage of Action Surge, you get 3 attacks effectively. Then you add in the possibility of multiple ripostes over an enemy's turn, and you really are going to be crushing bosses very quickly with this build. Companions and Roleplay. For this section, we'll have a quick non-spoiler version with the key companions that work well with the build on a mechanics-wise basis, as well as some light roleplay considerations. Then after that, there will be a more spoilery companions discussion referencing story elements and some more in-depth roleplay considerations that will also reference story elements. So for the quick non-spoiler, there are two group frameworks I like for this build. First is Gale, Will, Shadowheart, and then also swapping Will out for Lae'zel, but possibly Minsk or Karlach later. The reasoning is Gale for magic versatility, Shadowheart for support and especially healing for our Battlerager, and Will because warlocks are always great, enough said. While you can swap out Lae'zel if you want a crazy DPS wrecking ball of a duo with your Battlerager. Seriously, at level 5, Lae'zel Battlemaster gets possibly 4 attacks in a turn with Action Surge, and with a Battlerager that gets either 4 with Action Surge or 3 with Frenzied Attack on other turns, that's more than enough damage to kill bosses in a single turn. Roleplaying wise, remember that you may be a Berserker, but you are a Dwarf and a Battlemaster as well, so you do not lack discipline completely. In fact, I encourage trying to make the wisdom saves to hold back your rage in certain dialogues. All in all, it adds to the character concept well. And remember, you are also a warrior favoured by Tempest. He might be a god of battle, but he is also a god of tactics and strategy as much as bloody warfare. Otherwise, the only real rule that you need to abide by is you hate goblins if you decide to play as a dwarf. Again, dwarves hate goblins with a passion and will be quite happy to butcher them, even if you are usually nice enough to most people you meet. Companions and roleplay spoilers. So this will be your more spoiler focused section, so be aware of that. I will go through each companion that I think you might consider for your team composition, and also give some detailed roleplay considerations. Gale. You are going to see Gale in a lot of my suggested companions lists. It's simple, he's a wizard and therefore can offer so many possible spells. Like, even at level 5, look at how many options he gets, it's quite crazy. And remember, even if you don't pick some of these spells, he can learn them from scrolls. Regarding his personality, however, he is probably drawn with Karlach for Sigrun's best friend in the group. Sigrun's tendency to seek to help other people, in Act 1 particularly facing the goblin threat, means she quickly befriends Gale. And the fact that she gets Gale to do the arcane and wizard-based skill checks, she sees great value in his expertise. Also add in the fact that he is genuinely respectful to our proud dwarf warrior, and thus he earns himself some bonus points. It therefore makes sense for Sigrun to swear to her friend that she will help him deal with his magical bomb predicament. Lae'zel. Lae'zel is a force of nature on the battlefield in her own right, and combined with the Battlerager, you can be leveling a lot of attacks against enemies every turn, making them quite the melee blender team. As for personality, the Githyanki may have some similar respect of good order among their people and society to that of the dwarves, but their callous view of the world and the fact that every gift is effectively expendable is anathema to any shield dwarf, who values their people's lives given what they have faced. So Sigrun respects Lae'zel's bravery and skill as a warrior, but Sigrun's desire to assist others and use her strength as a force for good change in the world runs contrary to Lae'zel's quite selfish view of what she sees as what she's owed. We can garner this from her interactions after meeting the gift patrol. Yet depending on what happens with Lae'zel in the follow-up acts, and especially with the crash, will determine if Lae'zel and Sigrun are necessary allies or eventually respected ones. Shadowheart. Heals, heals, heals. Though Shadowheart has plenty of great spells for most situations, being able to keep the healing of the wrecking ball that is the Battlerager going makes for a very potent combo. Also, her guidance will help with rolls and dialogue, as Sigrun will tend to be the party's face, given how many barbarian and generic intimidation checks there are in game. Any test that is not strength or intimidation is going to be a struggle for Sigrun, so Shadowheart is very helpful here. Also, Shadowheart can do your stealth, trap, and lock-picking checks. Personality-wise, Sigrun and Shadowheart are more or less neutral, maybe slightly on the positive side. Shadowheart tends to like most of your actions, and also very much appreciates intimidation usage. So she approves of your effectiveness in resolving problems with a show of force, and therefore avoiding conflict. That said, Sigrun does not like Shar and views her worshippers with some disdain. She prefers facing her enemies eye to eye. It will be interesting to see how Shadowheart's story might relate to Sigrun's view as it goes forward, particularly if Shar worshippers become an enemy in time. Karlach. Normally I wouldn't use her in the core team with Sigrun, as there's only room for one Berserker in this team, as they do fit the same role. However, multiclassing Karlach into something else, like maybe a Paladin Oath of Vengeance, depending on her ability score allocation, could make for an interesting combo. Otherwise, in terms of their personalities, of course, they are battle-hardened warriors who seek to make change in the world for the better. Again, she is joint with Gale for the BFF title. Minsc and Boo. Minsc respects strength and fighting for what's right, so he will get along great with Sigrun. It remains to be seen how he will be best to multiclass, but depending on it, he could be in a similar role to Lae'zel as a great duo with the Battlerager for dishing out tons of damage. I also get the feeling that Minsc will have some unique dialogue, referring to a dwarf or other small race main characters. That is, being like Boo, they are proof that great heroes come in small packages. Will. Once again, Will makes it into the running. Like with my last build, Warlocks are a great class and very versatile. And with Will, I am totally going to try a Locked-in multi-class for him. And as such, it will make him match up pretty well with the Battlerager. Otherwise, Will totally gets Sigrun's mindset when it comes to putting things right, and a desire to help those weaker than yourself. However, the source of his capabilities is a concern to the Battlerager, so it remains to be seen if Will can prove his own merit as a warrior and hero, rather than relying on his dark pact. Yet, it means Sigrun will take heart in the fact that Will shows a willingness in Act 1 to free himself of the pact when pressed. Roleplay considerations, spoilers. With companions out of the way, what of our Battlerager specifically? So first thing to note is you are a Battlerager, which means you have a tendency to recklessly throw yourself at the fray. However, unlike your fellows, you also believe in some degree of discipline, as you want your death to have meaning and know the longer you keep fighting, the more good you might do for both dwarfkind and the world. Remember, you know the tales of how your patron Tempest became a god, when he defeated Garagos using tactical acumen, that is, using his own rage against him. Yet he also spared his foe's life after victory. For role-playing purposes, this is why Sigrun is a battle master. and a berserker. It means that she can be merciful to a worthy enemy and respects warriors of strength but also of wit. However, there is a line. If an enemy uses dishonourable tactics, she is quick to punish them. For goblins, this compounds with her racial hatred of their kind, and therefore she may withhold her wrath against them temporarily for strategic purposes, but in the end she has every intention to kill them. Her oath to her people demands it. That is one of the keys to the Battlerager's roleplay. You're trying to balance a naturally skilled tactician with a vengeful berserker that craves bloodshed. But in the end, Tempest has taught you that great change may only be achieved through battle, warfare. Therefore, you only avoid battle if it is through a show of superiority of might, such as intimidation or barbarian dialogue options. On the other hand, if you do play a shield dwarf, there's another key aspect. Remember who your racial enemies are, those who tend to get your blood boiling. Sigrun knows her people's history, so we have, of course, the goblins as noted, but also the drow who have had several wars with the dwarves. And finally the Dwagar, twisted abominations as far as you're concerned and must be destroyed. As for friendly relations, you look to humans and gnomes as worthy allies of dwarven kind, while at the same time, though you are no fan of the elves, you're certainly not hostile to them directly. Also remember to sigh whenever a gold dwarf does something reckless, but again respect them as kin. It is key to also note that the shield dwarves, more than most races, take assumptions of different societies seriously, and therefore imitating their general views of other races in your interactions is a key part of the build, if you choose to play a shield dwarf. Also, you are not without flexibility. Given you already chose Tempest's supremacy over dwarven gods regarding war, you are in effect willing to think for yourself, but you are also a proud dwarf who seeks to avenge her people by punishing their enemies. So keep these in mind. Yet what does this all mean for the core story? Well, of course, for Act 1 you will kill all the goblins, it's pretty simple. As for the hints at Selune and Shar, remember you have nothing but disdain for Shar and her cowardly tactics. For those who hide in shadows or wear masks obscuring their intent, you find it greatly annoying and dishonourable. Therefore, you'll be keeping an eye on Shadowheart. As for the Absolute, they too mask their intentions, hiding behind pawns, refusing to face you in the light of day. The Absolutes chosen are to be hunted down and slain. The fact that they are working with the Dwager and the Drow in the Underdark, seemingly, is a worrying development for the dwarves and their allies. And the fact that they are unaware of Ithalids in their heads is also disturbing, so be sure to put an end to it. As for our own little dark passenger, you of course hate Ithalids period, and will seek to never use its abilities, especially reading minds. No true dwarf would be so dishonourable. Trustworthiness is important to you. Thankfully, as a barbarian, you can actually avoid using the Ithilid entirely in Act 1. As a side note, only the barbarian and sorcerer, as far as I'm aware, can release Shadowheart at the start without using it at least once. Therefore, view this as a no Ithilid use build. Final thoughts. March on, proud Battlerager. Glorious battle awaits you. Your people need you, and the Lord of Battles will be watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to let me know your thoughts, and remember the question of the day is, what build will you be using on your first playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3 and why? Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to be notified of when the next Baldur's Gate 3 video will release. I'm planning to do one more build before release day, as well as a story orientated video where I will run through some key non-spoiler concepts you should know before playing, as well as some spoiler predictions for the story, so look out for that. Otherwise, please stay safe, have a great day, and thanks for watching.